Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Wednesday evening and plans are going ahead for all sorts of different things before we get to the Christmas break. Um, excuse me. Next on my list has been using things I don't use. And one of the things that brought that to mind was we were talking about going out for Christmas, etc. Any events that we had, and Patrick had said, "Oh, I need to get my stuff into the dry cleaners." And I was like, "Oh, I need to get my suit in." He said, "Your suit, singular." I have two or three. Yeah, two or three. Possibly four, but I think it's three. And I haven't worn them to work for a while. And I thought, what is the point of them being in the wardrobe doing nothing when I could be utilising them? So we have decided, well, Patrick has offered, that if I get all my suits together, then he will take them to the dry cleaners for me. I thought that's a good plan. And that means that I'm not looking for anything to wear for work in the next while, because the suits had only been worn for less than a year before I had changed jobs before. And I've worn them a few times to work over the past couple of years, but not very often. Normally I just wear trousers and a top. So I'm like, no, what is the point of me having this if I don't use it and then go and spend money on something else? So that's what I'm going to do. And of course, once you start that, we all know where I'm going here. It's okay, what else have you got that you don't use? And there are so many things. Obviously, you've got the things like I've got my heated blanket. Now, it's not been brought down the stairs just yet, but it needs to get used, because if it's just me in the house, why would I put the wood burner on if I don't have to? Much better to bring down the electric blanket and use that for the 30 minutes before I go to work or whatever, or for the first wee while when I come in. So that, excuse me, that is now getting sorted. We've also got things like my stand mixer, what's it called? Food processor. Thank you. Goodness, I'm standing looking at it. So the food processor, I haven't used that for a while, but I've got stuff that I can use it for. And you're like, right, it's not only there for slicing onions, thank you very much. It has a variety of options. So I need to start using that now and using up the stuff that I've got in the cupboards that I've bought and going, oh, I'll do that with that. And then it's been sitting there for months. So that's another thing. Obviously, you've got the stock in the cupboards, things like I had pudding rice. I had a bit of a disaster with the pudding rice because I saw that yesterday and I was like, oh, rice pudding in cold weather, fabulous. So I put it in the slow cooker, then forgot about it and left it on all last night. You can imagine. So it's now got water in it to try and soak the stuff off the edges. So that was a bit of a disaster. And there's certain things as well, like the stuff you bought years ago that you don't really do. Like, as I said, there was the Scentsy fresh air thing. Now, the fresh air spray, yes, we can use. The Scentsy waxes, we don't have anymore. And I'm like, well, do I keep the Scentsy burner or not? Because I never buy the wax. But then again, Christmas markets are coming up, and I'm quite sure that there's going to be people with wax oils, wax melts. And that would be quite nice to have the house smelling nice. So I'm going to keep them. I'm not going to give them away. So yeah, it's kind of these things like the what are you going to use? We've got a load of stuff from mum and dad still. basically really expensive jackets, etc., which didn't fit me. But I've lost weight. So's Kathleen. Puppy walking much, do you think? I think that's possibly helped. So this weekend, I need to go and do the trying on of all the clothes that I kept because they were expensive and I wasn't throwing out expensive clothes. But actually I might be able to use them now. And also stupid things like Kathleen had said the zip was burst on one of her fleeces that was her granddad's. She didn't want to get rid of it because it was just a zip, and I was like, oh, I can't sew zips on. I've never sewed a zip on. However, it turns out it wasn't the zip. It was the little toggle off the zip. So what I did was I got one of those little rings, you know, from key rings, stuck that through the thing, and then that pulls it down. So that's that. That's perfectly usable again. So we're going to go and we're going to have a look through the stuff that we've kept to find out what is now viable now that we've both lost weight, having started to walk the puppy. What is now actually usable, because most of the stuff we kept was the proper winter stuff, like the 100% wool jumpers that my dad used to wear all the time. The expensive shooting jackets, etc. So we're going to go and have a look through them this weekend and see actually what we can use. Because there's no point in it sitting in the wardrobe looking at me because it didn't fit me 2 years ago. I'm a slightly different shape than I was 2 years ago. Kathleen most certainly is. So now we're going to go through the wardrobes and we're going to check and see what we can use. And we're going to start using them. And I know that there's a pair of boots in the hall cupboard where the sole has come off the base. Now, they were my mum's boots. They don't fit me, but they will fit Kathleen. And they're Dubarry's, which is hugely expensive. I mean, I am not buying them, but that's one of the reasons that we still have them. So I'm going to take them into Perth and see if Timpson's can do something with them without killing them. Because obviously with Kathleen walking the dog, it's going to be very useful for her. So that's the cunning plan, is use what you have. That's my mantra for today, is to make sure that while I'm going about this time before the Christmas break, is go and find everything. Go and rummage in my wardrobes. Go and rummage in the drawers. Find what I've got. You know, if there's any more, like of the Super King quilt covers. I don't have a Super King bed anymore. I have a double bed. So I can give them away. Whether someone uses it as a quilt cover or whether they use the material, I'll probably put them to Remake in Crieff and they can see what they can do with them. So yeah, that's my cunning plan. Use what you have. So I shall let you know how I get on. But the first thing I'm doing is getting all my suits together because Patrick's volunteered to take them to the dry cleaner, which means I don't need to do that. Because for me, going into Perth and getting parked on a street rather than in a car park and just jumping it, it's much easier for him to do it. Because he's down the town more than I am. I think that sounds like a good excuse anyway. I'm going to go and get myself my evening cup of tea. I hope you're having a good evening and I will catch you later.